Hi, I'm Miles McCrimmon. I'm a professor of English at J. Sargent Reynolds Community College in Richmond, Virginia. And the folks at Classroom Salon have asked me to share some of my experiences road testing it over the past year in my American literature classes. So I, like many of you who teach any kind of reading or writing classes, was becoming concerned with sort of the canned discussion board post that's become sort of the new micro genre of academe of late. I was having a lot of students over the last couple of years just post those perfectly shaped 250 word reading responses to the week's assignment, whether in face-to-face or distance classes. And I was getting a little tired of seeing that quick move that students were making to sort of summarize these large texts and sort of speed to the end of their interpretive acts. So when I was turned on to Classroom Salon by Yitz about a year ago, I quickly saw that it would be a nice strategy for slowing down the reading process and forcing students to really look at the language of what they're reading and read at the line level and even the word level, and to kind of get back to maybe the golden era that never really existed, which is one of close readings of text with a lot of marginal annotations. So when I started using Salon in my distance class over the summer, and it was a distance class, so I was a little concerned about the learning curve, but the films that they've put together at Classroom Salon are very easy for my students to understand, so I didn't much better than what I would have come up with myself to try to explain how to use Salon. So I didn't get any complaints about how to use it from any of my students, even though this was a pure distance ed class. And just in the first few days of that summer class, and then throughout the fall class where I've been using it, I've just noticed a lot more connections between my students. It's really turned the distance learning experience into one that's much more connected. And I can speak to my experience of having taught this kind of class for more than 20 years, and certainly in the better part of those 20 years, when I'd walk into a live face-to-face class, my students would have their anthologies open, if they had their anthologies with them, and we would talk about things, and they would appear to be looking at various things that they had perhaps annotated, but unless I got up and actually walked around behind them and looked and saw what was actually annotated in their book, I didn't know what they'd actually done before class when it came to actual annotations. So that right there changed things around. I suppose my teaching had already changed somewhat by moving into learning management systems like Blackboard or things like that, where at least I could get their posts before class and look at what they thought about the text. But again, going back to my earlier point, those posts were quickly becoming sort of canned 250 word types of responses that didn't give me a whole lot to work with at the line level. If I wanted to go into a class, talk about what was troubling them, what the difficult areas of the text were, I still had to kind of suss that out through class discussion. And that's just in a face-to-face class. In a distance class, to be able to have a follow-up conversation from a distance with my students where I can hop onto Salon, look at where the hot areas are, where most of the commentary is, see the comments of 6 to 8 to 10 students about the same line from a poem or from a narrative, and I can have a follow-up discussion with them then before they do their follow-up annotations and say, hey, it looks like half the class was really finding this particular section to be problematic in some way. That is a much richer discussion and a much more interactive experience, especially in a distance class. And I haven't even tried Salon yet in a live setting where you pop something like that text up on a smartboard screen and have a 2.5 hour class discussion, just working your way down the text, looking at all of the students' annotations and being able to say, Jen, you said this. Jennifer, you said this. What do you think? Let's talk to each other. It's a much, much richer platform for class discussion. The other things I really like about it, of course, it's free, which is not a small concern for my students at a community college, and it's part of a larger sort of agenda that I'm pursuing aggressively, to avoid using textbooks or traditional print products for good reason. I happen to be able to use Salon quite freely because I'm teaching this in an early American literature class where everything really that I've been teaching out of the anthologies I've been using over the years, it's all public domain material, so it's perfectly legit and legal for me to copy and paste a text into a Salon space, and boom, they have their textbook essentially, or their replacement for a textbook, and they can start reading from the moment they open up the course as distance students, or the moment we meet for the first time in a face-to-face class. There are no book shortages, there are no problems with the wrong edition or this or that, or really with not knowing whether or not they've read the material, because they obviously have to have read the material in order to post intelligent annotations about it. So this solves a couple of things for me. It enables me to have a platform for having the readings that I want my students to read, and an immediately interactive environment for them to concentrate on those readings as a group, socially, talking to each other, publishing really from their standpoint, publishing their thoughts to each other. And the other thing that sort of takes the pressure off is when you tell students, look, I'm not looking for gems of wisdom necessarily in your annotations. It's perfectly okay for you to highlight a passage, put a couple of question marks there, or explain a little bit about why you find it troubling or puzzling in some way. That's often the best way to start an interesting conversation about a passage of reading. So I certainly hope that you'll give it a try yourself. It's interdisciplinary, really. I can see being used for practically any kind of course that involves reading and writing. It's certainly appropriate at all sorts of levels of education. It's not as complicated, or won't be as complicated to your students as it might seem to you, because they're used to this kind of adventure of setting up an account and learning something as they use it, and that's just the way their minds operate. So more power to them, and good luck to you in your endeavors. Thanks. Bye.